podcast. My name is Elisa Pacu. I have Miyaka Otomo, Gianna Seidel, Kaylee Reyes, Jocelyn Hernandez, and we're here at the Fairfield campus for Solano Community College in the TV studio. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about school curriculums that they should have taught us in high school. Real lessons like sexual education, how to manage money, and how much being undereducated in certain areas can affect us later on in our lives. Our goal with this podcast is to start a real conversation about what's missing in school systems and why it matters for us as students and as future adults. Going into our first segment, the effects of withholding information about sexual education, I found a study or an article by Jillian McCoy published by the Boston University School of Public Health, and the study was that 42 states require public school to provide sexual educations covering at least one related topic, and only 19 states mandated that the instructions be medically accurate. I feel like with that, it just shows that schools doesn't really go into depth about sexual education, and I feel like it really does have an effect on us later on.
I agree. And to me, like, to be honest, I don't even remember being taught about sex ed. But in middle school, I remember like being taught about like body parts, like your private parts, but never in depth about sex. And I feel like if we did learn about sex education in middle school at a young age, we wouldn't like be mature enough to understand it. And so I think it should be more in like high school, like during junior or senior year, because nowadays teens are getting pregnant and people are normalizing it, and that's not normal. And according to SAC.media by Ariel Phillips, April 26, 2024, there were 26 million new sexual transmitted diseases in 2018 in the US. Around half of these infections are in people between ages of 15 and 24. And like, I saw a girl on TikTok having a whole child as a 14-year-old, and I was like, what the heck? That's crazy. And I was like, that's a lot of like responsibility.
Yeah, especially like out of 14, you're not really paying attention to like your teachers talking to you.
Yeah.
You're always on your phone, you're always on TikTok. So I think it's just way too normalized, and teen pregnancy is a real big issue, and it's too much.
Yeah, and then how you were talking about like STDs and like sexual transmitted diseases, like within the education, I don't really think we hear a lot of like what the symptoms are if you do, or that even using condoms not always protects you from everything, like herpes or HIV or like warts and things like that. So it's very important, but they just sometimes don't teach you these things, and it can lead you to even getting an STD or, like you said, getting pregnant. And it's a lot of responsibility for a child, because these are children. To take on the role of a parent and then educate their child when they themselves are not all educated on these topics.
Right. I think it's really important, especially when we're younger, to at least get a couple lessons of this. Like, I remember growing up in a private Catholic school for 9 years, and sex education was completely taboo. Like, everybody had said, like, we're Catholic, you're not supposed to do that, you're not supposed to talk about it, it's really inappropriate. And it's crazy because when I was in 7th grade science class, my teacher turned the page, and it was supposed to be about sex ed. Like, our next unit was about sex ed and female and male genitals. However, he skipped right past it and was just like, you guys are too immature, we can't talk about it, blah, blah, blah. So we had skipped it, and I didn't know anything about sex or anything like that until high school. So it was really unfortunate. And it's crazy because 2 years prior to that, on January 1st, 2016, according to the California Department of Education, the California Healthy Youth Act was or it took effect. So this mandates that all students in California, grades 7 through 12, are supposed to have an education at least once or twice about sex ed. However, my school contradicted that, so it really had an effect on myself and all my other friends and students, because we weren't as educated and we didn't really know what was going on as we were growing up.
Yeah, and I think that also says a lot about not only is it the school system, but it could also be your teachers being feeling very uncomfortable to even talk to children about these topics. And that could be a very big setback, like how you said, like you didn't get taught any of this until high school, and it is a big setback because it's just like how not only my school is going to withhold this information, but now my teacher is going to withhold this information from me, when it could be very useful and educational for me to know all of these things, and then even try to just educate myself a little bit off of like what they were trying to teach me. So yeah, it says a lot about it's like a two-way street a little bit. Like it's not just your school's policy, but also it could just be your teacher as well.
I also think when you're in middle school, it's such a pivotal age or time in your life, and teachers should be the one to like kind of help you move forward going into high school. You're learning so much about yourself, and I think a lot of teachers also get nervous about LGBTQ topics. They feel like they don't want to like make students feel like they should be that or do something like that, and I think that really affects like how people think like in that day. No, absolutely. I feel like LGBTQ plus students and even transgender students are often left out of curriculum like all the time, especially when we're younger, and I think that just marginalizes them even further in our society right now. And it doesn't even have to be such a huge topic in education, but it can go as little as knowing the difference between what like non-binary is and being asexual and bisexual, like anything like that. That is very, very common nowadays, especially after 2020. So I think it's very important that we're kind of, I guess, helping our students grow as the world changes as well, because I feel like that wasn't such a huge conversation back then as it is now, and I think we need to incorporate that because students are going to find out what that is. When they grow up.
I feel like the teachers are like the ones who are making it awkward and uncomfortable for students. So I think that's why the students are like, I don't know about that, blah blah blah. So
It kind of like makes them afraid. Make them want to like hold back. Withhold their own information or their own experiences because they're, like I said, afraid to even talk about these topics, or especially for LGBTQ plus or transgender students, like they could feel like, oh, it's a little bit they're out of place even talking about their sexual orientation or how they are and things like that. And it could just really like kind of like make them not even want to talk about it or learn about it because they're afraid to.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school, I took anatomy, and we had the topic of sex ed, but my teacher literally was telling us, and they were just like, I don't know if I want to teach this. Like, can we vote as a class?
Really?
Yes, and I was like, and because there were some people who were uncomfortable by it, we just like, they didn't teach sex ed, and that was like my senior year, and I feel like I was my senior year, and I was like, wait, guys, I feel like we should learn about this.
Should have been learned about.
Yes, because I'm like, we're literally about to graduate, and we're gonna go into college, and like, they don't like. Yes, we
College
can.
where you can roam free and do whatever you want.
And like, I feel like when you just aren't taught about this at like not at like a young age, but like at an age where, like what you said, like we're growing, like we can miss so much because like what you mentioned, like they're like, I feel like not many people are educated with like STDs, STIs, or contraceptives. Like there's so many things that like aren't taught about that and are known as like taboo and like it's
And
not
then-
spoken of.
Yeah, and then like how, like contraceptives, like some people don't know that they don't always work, and like people kind of like, it's kind of, I don't know if anybody else knows, but like it's kind of become a thing about Plan Bs where
People are
just
abusing
Oh
Plan
my
B.
God,
like they
Yes.
just pop them or whatever, like kind of like pills.
Yeah.
But it's really bad because that can also mess with your health,
Yes.
and you could still get pregnant
Yeah.
because you're not using it right, or you're just using it stupid or
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw a girl
dumb
on
and things
TikTok.
like that.
She was like, she posted a video and it was like, I popped a Plan B, and then it was like a picture of her and her baby, and then she was like, it didn't work, and I was like,
Mhm.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause they're just not educated, or
Mhm.
they see that other people are doing it, and they're like, oh, I can do that too,
Mhm.
but no, you can't.
Yeah.
Like
You shouldn't. You shouldn't be in that predicament.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's really unfortunate because I feel like when you don't get that kind of education in your school, then you kind of have to do something for yourself and I guess turn to the internet or turn to your
Yes.
friends with those
Mhm.
experiences. But without that being, I guess, looked at in a professional way, like that's how a lot of misinformation can spread.
Yeah,
Things can be
exactly.
very misleading, especially like when you're talking to your friends. They're not gonna be super serious.
Mhm.
They're gonna like just joke around about it. You're not gonna
They're
take it
gonna be like,
serious.
ew.
Yeah,
we
like,
should talk about that,
ooh.
but it's like, I know, it's like, parents are even like that too.
Mhm.
Like, they don't want their children to know about these things because, I know we were talking about it on Monday, how like, they feel that it encourages them to do sexual activities or sexual acts or things like that. But even if it does, it's still a good thing for your child to know the risks, the if, ands, or buts of what you are doing when you're having sex, or even after having sex, or oral sex, literally everything.
Yeah.
These things need to be taught to teens because they could spread STDs, they could have babies when they're not ready, and even give other people misleading information about sex and things like that. So
Yeah, I think people just have sex to just have sex.
Yeah.
And like, they don't think, yeah, condoms are protective and fine, but they're not.
They're not taking the extra measure to
Yes.
make sure
Not
they're
careful
safe.
enough.
or they'll be like the pull-out method.
Oh,
Like-
God.
Like, no.
Like,
which
that's not a
is-
method.
Not an actual method, guys.
Yeah, it's just a whole load of bull
Mhm.
because you can still get pregnant regardless. And
Yeah.
even if you do wear a condom, you have to make sure there's no holes in it because
Exactly.
People poke holes in those.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, that's scary.
sometimes you're just not aware, and regardless of anything, you can always get pregnant even with contraceptives.
Mhm.
And
Also, when you're on birth control too.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like if you miss a time, like just even by a little, like it could affect it big time. I feel like it's such a big thing to just be educated on with this topic because it's just I feel like we just know the basics, but we don't like know like oh like if you don't do this, yes, if you don't do this, that could happen, or if this happens, that happens.
Yeah.
Like the cause and effects of it.
yeah.
But do you guys have anything else to say with this topic?
I think we pretty much said everything.
Okay, so moving on to our next segment, we have the importance of teaching financial literacy in more depth. So, I feel like with financial literacy, it was taught as like a very basic things, like what we spoke about, like economic class. But I feel like it doesn't teach us about like the budgets of like our budgets, saving, or dealing with loans, especially like once you graduate high school. Because I feel like kind of in early adulthood, so like in like your 20s, like that is such a big role because like that's when you first start getting a credit card. You learn about like like apartments and stuff, and like what you have to do to like kind of like build those things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, money is deeply influential in like all of our lives. Like it
Yeah.
affects our careers, our relationships, our friendships, and all of that. And without this curriculum, we kind of feel behind on understanding like taxes and student debt, things that were already things that are already obstacles in our lives that should have been or could have been prevented if we kind of knew a little bit more about it as you were younger. I mean, speaking or granted in college and like even in high school in some cases, like you're able to take classes like finance, especially if you're going into like a big major like business.
Yeah.
But speaking on a personal level for me, just because I didn't really get that opportunity to take finance and everything like that, I didn't really care to know about taxes or credit or anything like that until it became an obstacle for me right now, like as I just got a job and all of that.
No, yeah. And then I have like a source. It says according to the Council of Economic Education survey of the states in 2022, only 23 states require students to take a personal finance course to graduate. And I feel like that says a lot because that just means only in 23 states are students even learning about these things, which means the other half is completely clueless on
Yeah.
any of these topics, and that's a very big no-no.
Yeah.
I also think teachers are starting to take notice of that because one of my teachers, I had a business math teacher and my economics teacher. They both tried to teach credit scores, budgeting, and just all that stuff, and no one was really paying attention. So I think they're starting to take notice and they're trying to like make more of an effort because we're the new generation. We're like building like the population and
Yeah.
whatever. So yeah, people should really start to pay attention.
Yeah, it's kind of like I totally understand that like certain students might feel a little bit lost
Yeah.
when they're being taught these topics, but that's why it's also very important for you to not only take that information but take it home with you and talk to your parents about these things or even ask them like, hey, is this like, hey, I got taught this in school, but can you help me like guide me as well, because maybe your teacher didn't help like really put the like stepping stools for you to fully understand what these topics are. And like honestly, from my economics class, I really just remember tariffs, like learning about
Yes,
tariffs
yes.
and things like that. But like credit scores and taxes, people don't know that like your credit score is a very big thing. Like you need a credit score to get an apartment, get a house, and even when you get an apartment, people don't know about homeowners insurance and like you have to pay your utilities and things like that. And these things aren't taught in school at all. Like I specifically don't remember being taught in school any of those topics besides like tariffs and like things like that had to do with like you know, like shipping things from different countries and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
When they just
Basically
shut down
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, like I don't remember any of that, and that's very important because well, let you guys know I am 21, so it's a very important thing for me to start building my credit and maybe one day buying a car, because you need a credit score to buy a car and things like that, and it's very important. And since I wasn't really taught these topics, I feel like I kind of have to either do the research myself, like we were talking about, or trying to go to somebody that does know about these and that can help guide me to helping myself.
No, I totally agree with that because like it is like I have a credit card right now. I just started getting it, or I just started one, and I was completely lost with everything. Like I did not realize there was like so much things to be aware of. Like for example, like there's a minimum monthly payment and the due date for that, and like if you don't pay in full, and then like with the credits, like the credit score too, like it is, I don't even know like my actual credit score, and like It's cause like I didn't even know, cause my friend told me like what was it last week? He was just like, yeah, there's like an actual website that you could check for that, and I was like, wait, really? So like the one that I'm checking on my bank account isn't the real one? And it was like, you have to double check that, and I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, it's very upsetting because like I wasn't taught about credit cards at all in growing up in high school, or like what is it like what you said, like with apartments, like they rely on that, and insurance and taxes, like what is it, I don't even know like the taxes when like you work,
Yeah.
and like that's already bad
My
enough
family
because
have people who do their taxes.
Really?
yeah, like I feel like that's bad enough because like
No,
you
yeah,
don't even
like,
work.
no, yeah, like a lot of
You know?
people don't know that you could do. I don't know if you guys know this, but
Yeah.
you could do your taxes on Cash App.
Really?
Huh?
Actually,
No, no, no.
yeah, you can do your taxes on Cash App, or you could go to like a place that does taxes or anything. But I personally did my taxes on Cash App
Really?
well, this year, because
Oh,
you do taxes every year. But yeah, a lot of yeah, a lot of
know.
people don't know that you can do your taxes on like certain apps or things like that, and um, obviously with taxes too, it's a little bit iffy because depending on where you go, a lot of people also don't know this, but depending on where you go, it determines how much, if you get money back, like how much you get back, because like all the information that they put in for you, and yeah, people don't really know about that. Like yeah, like
Oh,
you guys
I
don't
didn't
know
know
about
that.
that and everything.
That's
and
crazy because like
Yeah.
my parents, like for all these years I've known, like have met up with their tax person,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like they have somebody to like pay their taxes and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. And that's a very privileged thing for me to say because I've never really had to worry about things like that.
Yeah.
But as I'm getting older, especially with this president, I feel like financial literacy is a huge thing that we need to, I guess, start self-educating ourselves on and learning
Yes.
about, because financial literacy is like kind of affects like how we vote and
What makes the
what
world
we
go round?
advocate for. Yeah, no, seriously. Like understanding how budgeting and taxes and credit, like how all of that works, it also kind of like helps us better evaluate what the politicians are promising to us, like, and letting us know whether or not it's good for our situation.
Yeah.
Sorry, not to get political, but
No, yeah, because like that also goes into like if people are telling you like certain things about these topics, like how do I say it? Like sometimes it can be very misleading, and I think that's what you're trying to say. Like
No,
in
for sure.
politics, like you really need to understand the fundamentals of what these things are because like loans, like you can get a loan and not know you have to pay it back, and like that it's like very hard because then you're stuck in a predicament where like shit I don't know how to pay this back.
Yeah.
And it's very important to know how to financially set yourself up, even saving your money to like properly having the payments ready to go and like okay I'm gonna pay this. And speaking of payments, like credit cards, like people think that if you pay your credit card right when you buy things with it, it will negatively affect your credit score, but that is not true. If anything, that's just you building your credit score, and a lot of people don't know that, and it's very important because things can be very misleading, and even if you're over here doing one thing, you could also be misleading other people as well because you're uneducated about these things.
Yeah. Also, I think everyone should have like a high yield savings account. Yeah, like so like you can just save and then put some money in the high yield savings. Like I mean, it'll grow eventually. So like,
Yeah.
everybody should. I think everybody should have that. And that
Everyone
be
should have
part-
some sort of savings.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's always good too, because in the long, like, yes, money is a very big thing, and money, like what they say, money will always run out. But it's a good thing to set yourself up to a point where, okay, I can lean back on this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can yeah, I might not have money in a month, but I can lean back on the money that I have right now because I've saved and not spending your money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slapping
Yeah.
yourself on the wrist and being like, hey, I need to stop. Because like debit cards, like you can just swipe that.
Yeah.
Like any
I'd be
time.
swiping
Yeah. And then like credit cards too, like people would just think it's free,
Free money.
Yes.
It's and here, so then they go
Your
into
credit-
credit card debt and
Yes.
Your credit
Then-
score is 400.
yeah, and then they go into credit card debt, and because they can't slap themselves on the wrist and don't know how to save, now they can't pay that debt off.
Mm-hmm. Very scary, honestly. And like, sorry, like one last thing is like with FAFSA, like,
Oh.
tell me, you guys know the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized loan. Like,
I learned about it, but I forgot.
yeah, like it's hard and like, what is it? Like, I just remember like with FAFSA, like schools just told me like, oh, like apply to it and just like, oh, I needed to apply to FAFSA
Yeah.
or else like they won't like.
You'll get repercussions or
Yes,
something
like
that.
something with like graduation. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, wait, but I don't understand it. And then I just had to do like my own research because like not even like the teachers themselves, like
None
they
of
didn't
them
want to
knew.
tell me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, like I guess I'll like do my own research and find out about it. And it's just like, I don't know. I just felt like with that, it was just such an example of like they're withholding their information to tell us about like these important things that we should know about because like we're young and like I don't know. It just with that it just really feel like it has like the effects and like the repercussions of just being undereducated, which is our next segment. Going off of that, like do you guys have anything to say with like the effects and the repercussions of just being undereducated with like these type of topics and what we can do to kind of like change the system?
Yeah, I think it like being undereducated could really limit your opportunities and maybe even create like generational poverty because you're uneducated and maybe you're too afraid to go out in the world and tell people that you're uneducated because like even that is a thing like, oh, you don't know about that and things like that. And that could then create you kind of misleading your child or someone you know and then them going down the line and also being uneducated and debt, things like that, not saving. So it could really just like spread
Yeah.
and yeah,
It
it's
can
just
snowball
an,
into
yeah, like it's
more.
an effect, like it's yeah, and then like it can also really affect like encouraging students to like do these things because sometimes they're misleading, but it's a very good thing to in schools encourage your students even if you feel even like teachers like if you feel like that your school is not allowing you to teach your students about sex ed or financial literacy like even themselves like opening up and being like, hey, I can teach you guys this and things like that and yeah, like students being involved and even trying to advocate for themselves and being like, hey, I don't think we're being taught enough. Can we add this into our curriculum within each teacher? Obviously, each teacher is different, but just asking them like, hey, can we add this in? And things like that.
An example that I found of like really like being educated about things in Switzerland, they have like a really like in-depth comprehensive sex ed program and the they just have really low like rates of like all the bad stuff like teen pregnancy, STIs, STDs, and like they have high credit scores. They're just like they're all educated and you can like see that in like their area and how they live and stuff.
And that just says a lot about like having these things in your school and teaching your students about that could lower the risks, not risks, but like factors that could lead to being pregnant, STIs, STDs, and things like that. And it just really shows like when you're educated or even just knowing about these things, it could prevent anything from like that from happening.
It's least likely to happen.
Yeah.
Or even if it does happen, like how to carry yourself with all of like your problems and things like that, like STDs, like knowing that you can go to the doctors, and I don't know if you mentioned this, like going to the doctors as a young person, you do not have to tell your parents at all. Like you could just go, and that could also be taught in school, and it's not.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like if you're underage, and because it's like all confidential, and if you go to the doctors and you tell them, hey, I don't want my mom to know about this, or if you get an STD check, like call my phone number, not my mom's. Like they will do that for you, and that's very important to know, and a lot of people don't
What
know
if
that.
we're like above the age of 18?
I don't.
Well, that's you're of age.
Yeah, you're of
so
age.
it's like that's your information. But if you're like 14, like 15, you
Yeah.
could tell your doctor, I don't want nobody to know about this, and it's confidential. Yeah, and like and like promoting policies and things like that.
I think like not knowing about sex ed can like impact people's health, like emotionally and socially.
Yeah.
Like it can cause like lack of knowledge and misinformation, so it should be really important. That's cool. Yeah.
Also affect your mental health a lot.
And I think if you're too scared to fight that fight alone, to like ask for change, like to your teachers, and even going to school board district meetings and asking them for change and to include specific things in our curriculum. If you're too afraid to fight that fight alone, that's okay. I think one of the biggest things that you can do is just, like we said earlier in this podcast, time and time again, continue to educate yourself and continue to educate the people around you, because I mean, we're young, we're the future of this generation, like it's very important.
Yeah, and then even if your school specifically is, or you're too scared to even go to a council meeting and things like that, you could even try to go within your school and be like, hey, can I create a club that teaches you these things, and hey, I have people that want to be taught these things, like I have, or even like making a sign up sheet and being like, hey, I have evidence right here that all these people want to be taught sex ed, financial literacy, and like effects, pros and cons of everything. Like going to your school, like your obviously like the office, your main office and stuff like that, and being like, hey, is there a way I can just create a club instead of going and like changing the whole policy of your school?
More likely than not, you'll find at least one teacher, at least like 3 kids who will want to do that, and they kind of
it'll help pave the way, especially if you have like a teacher that you can confide in, and that teacher could also really help you like advocate for you, like hey, I can teach this to the kids, or I can do it in my classroom if you guys have no space, like like just rounding people up, being like, hey, I want to be taught this, and they do too.
No, I feel like there's so many ways that we can do to change, kind of like just overall like being undereducated with these important topics with sex ed and financial literacy. Like what we all said, like educate yourself. I feel like that's the most important thing that we could do for ourselves, honestly. And then with our knowledge, like, and we're sure of it, like we could teach others, like what you said, by starting clubs, organizations. Like I remember, like it's like what you said, it's very easy to just start an organization with, as long as you have like one teacher, a few students, you can start it, and it could honestly make a big change, because like a little change can go a very long way. And like I feel like when you guys have like that big change, you guys can go to like school board council meetings and talk about this. And like what you said, like snowball effect could just be an overall just big change for this, because I feel like with being undereducated, like we lack these fundamentals that could prepare us into being independent adults. And-
100%.
Yeah, and like how you said, like even starting a club and then taking that, you could take that club and be like, go to a council meeting and be like, well, look, we started a club, a lot of people are starting to come, but now the rest of the school is telling us like, hey, I want to be a part of the club, but now it's like the whole school is getting too crowded. We need these policies, we need a change in our school, because yes, it was a club, but now everyone is like, hey, I think I need to be taught that too.
Yeah.
And that could, you could use that and be like, as evidence and show them like, hey, this could really help my classmates, or even, not even my classmates, but
Anybody.
like, yeah, anybody, like kids going from middle school into high school, like, even if you don't think that's a proper age, but it could really just end up helping them in the end, and also help you advocate for change.
You could even like do things on social media too.
Yes.
Everyone's on TikTok, everyone's on Instagram, everyone's on Snapchat. You could make a little Instagram page for your thing, post like
Yeah, because TikTok is so influential.
mhm.
you
Like,
can
everybody,
Yes.
you can
like-
go so viral on TikTok for the most silliest things. Might as well make it something that people like need to learn.
Exactly.
I feel like TikTok like taught me more than school.
Exactly.
Or
I look
even,
at chemistry like I know it.
Have you guys seen the like Owala bottles?
Yes.
Like
And I
how,
have
like,
like 5.
Being like, oh, well, this one is good, and then everybody and their mother goes to the store
Yes.
and is fighting over it.
Yeah,
like
and Stanley's.
like
Yes.
the
Oh my gosh.
Starbucks teddy
Oh my
bear.
god, yeah.
Oh my god,
What
yes.
everyone's
Oh,
fighting over.
yes.
Like that, like it's very influential. So even like, going on TikTok, being like, hey, subscribe.
Yeah, even if you like have a club already, you can make an Instagram for that club.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
yeah.
And I feel like with that, it would just spread like more awareness with everything. And like, who knows, like if that account like builds up, then like
Dang.
you can you can educate everyone, you know?
Like having a Q&A, like
Yeah.
things like that. Hey, ask me questions and I'll help you.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Okay, and that brings us to the end of our podcast. With this discussion, we hope to shed light on the missing fundamentals of school curriculums. Our goal with this podcast was to educate students to advocate for educational reform on the essential life skills. By addressing these topics like sexual education, financial literacy, and equitable funding, we hope to inspire change in how school can prepare us for the real world. And also, if you would like to address these problems at your school district meetings, you can. Like, go for it, honestly. And if you guys are afraid to do that, that's okay too. Don't forget, like, you guys can educate yourself with this. And if you can educate yourself, you can educate those around you, your peers. And a little change can go a very, very long way. Be the voice and advocate for these children or our generation, because our generation can teach everyone around us and our future generations as well. And remember that your voice is your power. Thank you for listening.
The exponential growth from the program from my first year to my third year now, that's what keeps me coming back and keeps me excited and just like fulfills me as a person.
It's so impressive, and we every time we walk in here, you guys are doing something different. It's great. It's great.
Nothing but opportunities here, and we have sports to cover, we have the equipment.
Because the more ambitious you are, the more opportunities you'll have.
On-the-job training is huge.
Get the hands-on experience.
When someone asks who can do it, you can raise your hand and say, I can do it. So
Joining the class was the best decision I ever made.
Stand by, we're going to go to cut one. And cut one. Cross court to Audrey Jones. Audrey for three! And it's good! With 1.3 seconds left on the game clock, Audrey Jones with one of the biggest shots ever.
the sky's the limit, really, with what we can do here.